Authorities in Malawi say at least 46 people have been killed during the rainy season, which began in November. And more insecurity problems for Nigeria as gunmen on motorcycles kill at least 50 and abduct women and children in the country's northwest. Hello and welcome to China Global Television Network. This is Africa Live. I'm Mahia, Mutua in Nairobi. The President of the United States, Donald Trump, has announced an increase in a temporary tariff rate on U.S. imports from all countries from 10 to 15%. This follows a Supreme Court ruling against his prior tariff program imposed under a law intended for national emergencies. Infuriated by the court's ruling, Trump on Friday ordered an immediate 10% tariff on all imports. In addition to any existing tariffs, the law allows him to impose a levy of up to 15% for 150 days, although it could face legal challenges. During this time frame, Trump said his administration will develop new tariffs. In a post on Truth Social, he called it a response to countries that he claims have exploited the U.S. economically for years. Nick Harper has more now from Washington.
A 6-3 ruling from the US Supreme Court telling Donald Trump that he had overstepped his authority. That is a rare rebuke for Donald Trump, not normally told that he can't do what he wants to do. But the Supreme Court making it clear that he should have had congressional authorization to impose these tariffs. He is very angry by the decision. He gave a press conference in which he harangued the Supreme Court justices.
I'm ashamed of certain members of the court. Absolutely ashamed for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected.
Donald Trump, though, making it clear that he also now intends to push ahead with a plan B. Some of these tariffs that he imposed last April, different rates of tariffs on different countries depending on their trade deficit, those have been struck down. Other tariffs, though, put in place before that, including against certain countries and against certain sectors, those remain in place. But Donald Trump, as a response to this ruling, says that he will be imposing a 10% global tariff across the board against all countries in response to this.
Therefore, effective immediately, all national security tariffs under Section 232 and existing Section 301 tariffs, they're existing, they're there, remain in place, fully in place, and in full force and effect. Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
He said it was a much more powerful alternative that could bring in much more money. But there are questions about what about all those countries, companies, consumers who've paid higher fees over the course of the last year because of these tariffs. Many of them are calling for refunds. Some have already sued to get their money back. The president is angry and there is still plenty of confusion, but it is clear that he is pushing ahead with tariffs, something that has become a key part of not just his economic but foreign policy agenda during his second term. Nick Harper, CGTN, Washington.
While experts say U.S. President Donald Trump's administration still has other ways to push for tariffs, despite the Supreme Court's ruling, whilst immediate relief from the decision is unlikely.
The decision delivering a blow to Trump's second-term economic agenda and foreign policy. Experts noting the court only struck down one avenue for Trump's tariff plans.
We shouldn't think that the topic of tariffs is now going away somehow, even beyond potential lawsuits, because the president has any number of other ways that he can continue to try and push for tariffs and impact, levies. So we'll be watching for that.
For consumers, immediate relief from the decision is unlikely, economists say, because the court did not give any guidance on what should happen to the tariff revenue already collected.
Even if refunds are ultimately issued, they're not going to be issued to consumers. They're going to be issued to firms. And then you're depending on firms ultimately passing those back to the consumer.
As of December 14th, federal data showed the government had collected $134 billion in revenue from the tariffs that were struck down.
Well, Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer calls the Supreme Court's decision a win for the wallets of every American consumer.
A president cannot ignore Congress and unilaterally slap these tariffs on the American people. Donald Trump's speech is just like his tariffs: erratic, disorganized, based on fiction. He just does not understand what Americans are going through. Today's SCOTUS decision was a win for the wallets of every American consumer that carried the burden of Trump's stupid trade war.
Well, other top Democrats are celebrating the ruling while demanding compensation for those affected by the tariffs. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries has hailed the decision as a major win for the American people. California Governor Gavin Newsom went further, demanding the president refund all affected with interest for what he calls an illegal cash grab. Citing a Yale Budget Lab report, Newsom's office notes that the tariffs cost the average U.S. family an estimated $1,751 in 2025. Elsewhere, Iran is reiterating its firm stance during the ongoing nuclear talks with the United States. In a statement on Friday, Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi made it clear that while Tehran is prepared for diplomacy, it is also ready for confrontation.
One thing I have to emphasize is that there is no military solution for Iran's nuclear program. If they want a deal, if they want a solution for Iran's nuclear program, if they want to ensure that Iran's nuclear program is peaceful and would remain peaceful forever, the only solution is a diplomatic negotiation and coming to a diplomatic solution.
Well, Araghchi added that Tehran aims to prepare a draft of a potential nuclear agreement with Washington within the next 3 days. Once finalized, that document would be handed over to U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. The Iranian foreign minister noted that another round of talks may be needed before a final outcome is reached. He also clarified that Iran has not offered to suspend uranium enrichment on its soil and stressed that Washington did not make that demand during the second round of negotiations. Later on Friday, President Donald Trump said he is considering a limited military strike on Iran. U.S. media citing officials report that military planning regarding Iran is now at an advanced stage. Sources suggest that if ordered by Trump, Washington could target individuals or even pursue regime change in Tehran. To Malawi, where at least 46 people have died since the onset of the 2025-2026 rainfall season in November. This is according to the Department of Disaster Management Affairs, adding that 221 others have been injured nationwide, with lightning strikes or collapsed buildings among the causes. The agency says nearly 40,000 households in 30 councils across the country have been affected. So far, over 35,000 affected households have received food and non-food assistance. It adds that risk of flash floods remains high in Lakeshore and other low-lying areas and has put standby arrangements for national search and rescue teams. In West Africa, a Nigerian lawmaker says at least 50 people were killed by gunmen in the latest deadly assault to rock the country. Several women and children are also missing, according to Hamisu A. Faru, a lawmaker representing Bukuyum South in the northwestern state of Zamfara, where the incident occurred. Now, the attack on a village started late on Thursday night and continued into Friday morning. Officials are still trying to determine how many people were abducted. The incident comes a week after 46 people were killed in a similar raid in Niger State, which also lies in the northwest. Let's turn to Somalia, where the World Food Programme says its life-saving food and nutrition assistance could stop by April unless new funding is secured. It said an estimated 4.4 million people are facing crisis-level food insecurity, with nearly 1 million of them experiencing severe hunger. Somalia declared a national drought emergency in November after recurrent seasons of poor rainfall. The UN agency is seeking $95 million to sustain operations until August.
We are only able to reach 1 in 7 people in need. The lack of resources has meant we've been forced to repeatedly reduce this vital assistance. We've had no choice but to reduce food and nutrition assistance by more than half in 2025 due to funding shortfalls. And so today, just to give you a few numbers, we're currently assisting only 640,000 of those 4.4 million people I mentioned that are facing crisis levels of hunger. And this is down from 2.2 million that we were supporting with emergency food assistance this time last year.
On to the volatile eastern region of the Democratic Republic of Congo, which an EU official has described as catastrophic following a visit. Speaking in Goma on Friday, the EU Commissioner for Equality said the humanitarian situation in the region has sharply deteriorated. The mineral-rich region has been plagued by violence and conflict for years now, but a major escalation over past 12 months had worsened the crisis. Now, during a 4-city diplomatic mission, Hajja Lahbib toured transit camps for displaced people and met with representatives of the M23 rebel group, which now controls much of the region. Lahbib appealed to all factions to adhere to international humanitarian law to protect civilians.
Je me suis rendue tout d'abord à Kinshasa.
I went first to Kinshasa, then to Bujumbura, then to Kigali, and now to Goma with the same message: a plea for respect for international humanitarian law. The situation is catastrophic. I went to the transit camps. I have collected testimonies myself. I am also an equality commissioner, and the first victims of this war are above all women and children. I have obtained concrete commitments from all the parties I have met, and I hope that these commitments will be implemented and that this mission will bear fruit.
Et que cette mission portera ses fruits.
Time for a short break. Here's what's coming up. On World Mother Language Day, we'll see how technology is helping to keep local tongues alive in Kenya. Welcome back. Now, today is International Mother Tongue Day, a day meant to promote linguistic and cultural diversity. It is especially important in many parts of Africa where local languages that date back centuries are increasingly being phased out by a modern mix of urbanization, globalization and inter-ethnic marriages. However, there are efforts to reverse that trend, with other modernities playing a key role in that. And as Wilkista Nyabwa reports from Nairobi, these initiatives are slowly making vernacular languages cool again.
Patricia Nabwiri comes from Kenya's Luhya community, but her household sounds a little different lately. She married a man from central Kenya's Kikuyu community, and they settled in the capital, Nairobi. Their home was a mix of English and Swahili, the country's national languages, but as their family expanded, Patricia felt like she was missing vital pieces of their shared experiences, and learning the vernacular language of her husband might help change that.
My husband speaks Kikuyu, but myself, I can't speak any language. So I'm Luhya, but I still can't speak Luhya. So I feel if I can speak Kikuyu and converse with my hubby, then my children will be able to pick that, I think, faster, because, it's easier when they listen to us speak than them learning from someone else.
A search on the popular social video site TikTok led Patricia to the page of Augusta Gishane, or Murutani Agu, Teacher Agu. She teaches the Kikuyu language and sources many students from the online platforms.
We started teaching during the period of COVID. Everyone was on, during the lockdown. We were at home wondering when this lockdown, how long will it be? And COVID presented that opportunity for us to be at home, to work at home. Most of the learners that we have, let's say over 85% of the learners that we've been having since October of 2024, most of them, we have got them through social media.
Hello, Wemwega. Welcome to Kikuyu.
For 1 hour a week, she takes her online students through Kikuyu language lessons, teaching everything from simple phrases to advanced vocabulary.
Letter A for the word Asha. Asha means no.
Many learners tell us that studying a language as an adult through technology is a difficult undertaking, but they stick with it, hoping to reap the rewards where they cut through the noise and connect with other native speakers when they find just the right words.
You know, how to pronounce these things is not easy, especially now that I'm an adult. I fear pronouncing some of the words. But again, it's really exciting because I'm learning a new culture. I'm learning so much about the Kikuyu people.
Linguists say vernacular languages in Kenya are facing a crisis, with at least 13 indigenous languages at risk of disappearing and several already deemed extinct. This phenomenon is driven by urbanization, globalization, and inter-ethnic marriages. And while they might want to bridge the gap, online learners often struggle with the time challenges. That's where online lessons come in. Teacher Agu's classes have grown to include local teens, Kenyans in diaspora, and learners from across Africa fascinated by the similarities between Bantu dialects. Her vernacular lessons cost about $8 an hour. Hundreds of other teachers can also be found online teaching other vernacular languages. Linguists argue that when people lose their language, they are also likely to feel disconnected from their cultures. Today, the mission is to make vernacular cool again.
The future is bright because there is some kind of renaissance where there's a thirst for culture, there's a thirst for language and identity.
And so on digital platforms across the world, learners converge, using modern tools to tap into ancient history and to find a common tongue. Wilkison Abwa, CGTN, Nairobi.
Now to Ghana, where a recent visit to Zambia by the country's president has sparked a bit of cultural shift back home. The traditional clothing worn by John Dramani Mahama caused such a stir there that the government is now looking to capitalize on it. CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports from Accra.
It all started as light-hearted social media banter when Ghana's president, John Dramani Mahama, chose to wear a traditional Ghanaian outfit called fugu during a state visit to Zambia. Some local online users mockingly referred to it as a blouse, but it quickly, as so often happens, got out of hand. Furious Ghanaians took to social media defending their president and the cultural significance of the clothing, turning ridicule into a renewed conversation about national identity.
The fugu is a beautiful traditional clothing in Ghana. I always feel happy wearing it because it represents my cultural identity.
Also known as batakari, the fugu originates in northern Ghana. It's made from hand-woven, narrow strips of thick cotton, carefully stitched together to form a structured garment.
It used to be the chiefs, the elders, and then the warriors. For the chiefs, it was something that served as royalty, gave them pride, authority. So if you saw someone coming wearing the northern fugu, you get to know that, no, this is someone who is of a high ranking in society.
The government was aware of the altercation, but rather than see it as a challenge, it's taking it as an opportunity to promote Ghanaian culture. It's asking people to wear the fugu every Wednesday as a way to project their unique identity on the global stage. Meanwhile, it's also expected to have a significant economic effect.
What it means now is that there's going to be increased demand. And increased demand means that your business is going to grow. Once you are going to be producing more, definitely it's going to help you economically. There's going to be increase in sales, and now we are even looking at exporting it.
Designers also believe the renewed interest in fugu could help revitalize Ghana's traditional craftsmanship in the fashion industry.
What began as a social media banter has now become a national statement. By wearing the fugu at least once a week, Ghanaians are saying their culture isn't up for debate. It's something to be worn with pride. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
All right, it's time to check out what's coming up in sports. IOC President Kirsty Coventry terms the Winter Games in Milano Cortina a success.
You don't find the stories of North Africa by sitting on the sidelines. You've got to get out, go there, and you'll find them. In the bazaars of Casablanca, among the crowds in Cairo,
who come to visit Cairo, the ancient capital of Egypt.
Along the waters of the Nile, along the sands of the Sahara. No one else will take you where we can in North Africa. No one else will show you what it's all about. CGTN, see the difference.
The new president of the International Olympic Committee has hailed the 2026 Winter Games in northern Italy as truly successful, adding that the event has exceeded expectations. Zimbabwe's Kirsty Coventry, who only took over the office last year, was speaking ahead of tomorrow's closing ceremony in the city of Verona, following 2 weeks of intense competition. She said it demonstrated how the Olympics continues to bring diverse groups of people together in peace and unity.
I think that when we look at just the pure viewership numbers that we're getting across the globe, it shows that the games can unify people and they can bring people together. And I wholeheartedly believe that we still have a huge role to play in this world to allow for that to still happen and to remind people of just what kindness looks like and courage looks like and respect looks like. It is, and it comes down to being able to stick very truly to our principles and values. And that's what we've tried to do here. And I believe we've not just tried, but we've done it. And that is really important. We're here to ensure that we create an incredible atmosphere for athletes to live out their biggest dreams. And the athletes have shared with us their greatest moments. They've shared with us some of their greatest tragedies and losses. And they've been able to do that on a field of play that is safe and free. And we'll continue to work towards ensuring that in the future.
In men's ice hockey, the U.S. have charged into the gold medal match after a comfortable victory over Slovakia. The Americans stormed into a 6-0 lead with Jack Hughes scoring 2 of the goals. The Slovaks managed 2 late consolation goals, but it's the Americans who progress. The end of the game was marred by a row which saw 3 players ejected from the game. The U.S. will be looking for their first gold in men's ice hockey since 1980 at Lake Placid. And they'll play their big North American rivals in that final after Canada came from 2 goals down against the defending champions to win. Nathan McKinnon got the winner with just 35 seconds left on the clock. The final is scheduled for tomorrow in Milan. Slovakia will take on Finland for the bronze there. Canada's head coach John Cooper said his team had to show a lot of resilience to come back against Finland.